about that stuff, so I can only give you 4 awards. I did not give out an MVP award this year because I felt that we didn't have somebody that was truly dominate in all areas. But I did have a defensive player award, an offensive player award, a utility player, as well as a most improved player. So I'm going to start with my most improved player. And I'm going to ask the girls all right now, because they know what this is without me even giving this award, who is the most improved player for our team this year? You guys would be pointing to Cameron Landikin. Come up here, Cameron. Is your trophy there? Thank you. Cameron started the season very shy and very timid to start, and then there was one practice where she hit a spike in the crowd, and the team went nuts, and it kind of just it took off for her, and she became a huge asset for us. She was a starting JV player, and then literally by the 3rd game, I said, sorry, she's got to come up to varsity, and she became a varsity starter throughout the entire year. So I couldn't be more proud of Cameron. The MACSAC League is in trouble, having to face her next year. I'm looking forward to seeing her develop and keep working hard. So great work and well deserved, Cameron. All right, the next one is my utility player. This young lady is a relative of mine, and I've coached her for several years. And this year, last year I put her a couple places, and we went back and forth, and outside hitter, middle hitter, right side, all the places. And we were kind of in the same boat this year, but she did this with such a great attitude and a positive attitude. She just would say, Coach, where am I playing today? And I knew where she wanted to play, but I'd end up putting her somewhere else. And she literally was a great teammate and was just a utility player for us. And as a coach, you need to have that sometimes, somebody who's willing to go play in different positions. So without a doubt, my utility player goes to Gabriella Olinger. I have a Best Defensive Player award, and this young lady throws her body all over the floor for her teammates. A little too much at sometimes. She doesn't know that there's walls sometimes around there, but she is incredibly tough in the back row for us. She's our libero, and this year she expanded her skill set to not only become a defensive player, but to also an offensive weapon for us. My Best Defensive Player this year goes to Audrey Oliver. Can you hand me that shadow box, that black box? I told you I would wrap up this with a special young lady who's leaving us. For the first time in my career as a coach in volleyball, 20 years, I've never, am I missing something? Oh, sorry, thank you. Thank you, thank you for that. I'll come back to that in a second. Offensive Player of the Year, without a doubt, goes to my strongest outside hitter. I had her as a freshman. She came back as a sophomore, and she was very dominant this year. Worked extremely hard, and when she let loose on a kill, nobody could return it. So without a doubt, our Best Offensive Player this year goes to Chloe Brooks. As a coach this year, and we've always talked about this, about being a great teammate. What does a great teammate do? A great teammate is one who sits on the bench when a coach pulls him out and has a positive attitude, is cheering his teammates on. A great teammate is one who's getting their teammates water when maybe they're sitting on the sideline, and being positive in all situations. I've experienced this with Ella Holbrook for my 5 years of coaching her, and so this year I have decided moving forward that I'm going to name a trophy, the Ella Holbrook Trophy, and because it's a great thing for the team, and it's something that we stress, are you being a great teammate? And I think these girls know what kind of teammate Ella is, and she makes some really good cookies too, which is cool. But we're going to miss that. I've told Ella that she can come back anytime and be part of our group. This year we did something special for the senior, for her leaving, and so from here on out we're going to try to do this for the seniors when they leave and depart. So this will be the Ella Holbrook Award, and we're going to kind of name that moving forward. So thank you, Ella, for all your efforts, and we will certainly miss you, but you will always have a place in this Hartford program. Sorry, thank you. Give us back to you. The girls have a positive future. They were already willing to work hard. By the way, girls, I need to see everybody after chapel to make sure who's coming tomorrow night for the Glow in the Dark party. So I needed to see everybody before you go up the hill. So thank you for your efforts and have a good day. Yep.
All right, last but not least, I'm going to have Coach Wesley Peters come up with the varsity soccer boys.
Soccer team can come on forward if they would. A couple of quick thank yous. First of all, thank you to Mr. Campanella and Mrs. May for their work in the athletic department with scheduling and all that entails. We appreciate their efforts there behind the scenes. Also to Mr. Tyler Johnson, who's helping us with the live streaming this morning. He was our assistant coach this year, and his input was very valuable to the team, so we appreciate him as well. Going into this season, I was not sure what kind of team we were going to have. We graduated 8 seniors from the soccer team last year, so I knew a lot of younger players were going to need to step up into important roles for our team. And the first time I really saw this team in competitive action was in our preseason tournament, and they played pretty well. So I could see that this team had some potential moving forward. And then after the first 7 games of our regular season, we had 4 wins, 2 losses, and a tie, and things were going relatively well. Everyone was relatively healthy. And then after that, we lost a heartbreaker at Redeemer Classical, 1-0. And I sensed in our team that night that we thought that we were the victims of some bad breaks. And if you view yourself as the victim, you'll never strive for self-improvement, because the reason you failed wasn't yourself, it was something else that happened to you, not something you did yourself. And we really wanted to cultivate in our team a winning culture and not a whining culture. And so there was some growing and maturing that we needed these guys to do, and they did it. They grew and they matured, and I think that's really what I'm most proud of them for this year, is just their maturity in that aspect and controlling what they could control and not worrying about things that were outside of their control. Unfortunately, even though there was some maturing that was done there, that was not when our season turned around for us in the win column. We would go on to lose the next 5 straight games, so 6 total that we lost in the middle of our season. So now our record, after being 4-2-1, was now 4-8-1 with those 8 losses. And there was a number of reasons for those losses. We were playing good teams. There was illness, there was injury. But even in those losses, I could observe some character building in our team and some growth and maturity, especially in our younger players who were now needing to step up when the older players were out for illness or injury. We finally got back in the win column with a win against Che United out in Westminster, but it was kind of an ugly win, but we'll take those as well. Then we came home and we got a massive win against Redeemer on senior night, 2-0. That was the night of the big Vision 21 event. And that is how we finished our regular season. So we entered the MACSAC tournament as the number 4 seed, having lost to Carroll, Frederick, and Redeemer. As a result, that meant we were destined for a semifinal game at the number 1 seed and defending champions out at Carroll Christian. And we had lost to them in the regular season 3-1. The first half, it was anybody's game. Each team created some good chances, but no one was able to score. Then at the beginning of the second half, Carroll scored almost right away, right in the first minute. To this point in the season, we had 0 come-from-behind wins, but the team didn't panic. They stuck with the game plan and kept creating chances and limiting Carroll's attacking threats. 20 minutes through the half, Josh Ollinger tied it up, and with roughly 5 minutes left, Elliott scored the winning goal, and we left Carroll and their fans completely shocked as we pulled the upset there out at Westminster. We figured, that was the semifinal game, we figured that we would probably see the number 2 seed Frederick in the final, but they were upset by Redeemer, so that meant we were going to have to play them for a 3rd time in our season. In the final, we created several good chances early and cashed in on one to make it 1-0. In the second half, Redeemer kept us pinned in our own end for most of the time, except for a couple counterattacking chances in which we failed to score. There were definitely some hold-your-breath type of moments, but our defense hung on, and we won ugly that day. And it was probably the most beautiful ugly win I've ever seen. Just to recognize each of the different grade levels, first of all, our freshmen With so many graduating seniors from the year before, we were going to need the freshmen to step up for us. In a typical game, there were 4 freshmen in our starting lineup and others making very serious contributions off the bench. Without them, we were not winning the championship this year, especially since without them, we would only have had 9 players. While they were all contributors, one stood out to me for his work ethic, his consistency at practice, and his improvement throughout the season. His best 2 games were our last 2 games, and he was named the MACSAC Tournament MVP as a result. And this year's Rookie of the Year award goes to Marshall Rhodes. Next, our sophomores. We only had 2 sophomores this year, Josiah and Caleb. Both of these guys, to me, are perfect examples of sticking with a sport after your freshman year, in which they saw very limited playing time. In fact, almost no meaningful playing time in games that were close last year. But I say that because I really appreciate their commitment and sticking with the sport and maturing and growing and getting better. And this year, they were very important contributors for us. And in those games that really mattered during clutch time, these guys were out on the field making contributions. So I think that's a good lesson for everybody, that you stick with something, even if, your freshman year, you're not the number 1 guy on your team, sticking with it and making meaningful contributions as you grow and mature. Next, our 4 juniors. These 4 were all in the top 7 for minutes played on the team this year. They were all 4 were named to the MACSAC All-Conference team, and I'm glad they are returning for another season. Jason brought some toughness to our midfield. Ben brought vision and distribution. Josh was our leader in goals and assists, and Carter was a rock for us in the back. And he and Josh were both named to the all-tournament team in addition to being all-conference. And you could make a case for each of these guys receiving awards, but for his faithfulness and his leadership and ability to stop even the best attacking threats in the league, this year, our Defensive Player of the Year goes to Carter May. Finally, our seniors, our 3 seniors, each of whom played 4 years of varsity soccer, and they're all going to be receiving awards today. So first, Timmy Williams. Timmy finishes his career with multiple all-conference honors. I heard from multiple opposing coaches that they are glad they won't have to worry about him next year. He often drew a lot of attention from the other team's defense, which opened up opportunities for our other players. Despite spending most of the year in the midfield, he finishes 3rd in goals and 2nd in assists, and this year's Midfielder of the Year goes to Timmy Williams. Next is Josh Williams. Josh has started at left back for us for the last 3 years, and his sophomore year when I came in to coach, it was a bit of a difficult sell when I told him I wanted him to play defense, but now I can't imagine him anywhere else. And he's been an absolute rock for us back there and pretty much never comes off the field. He was also very faithful to practice and always had a good attitude, never complained, never whined about officiating or anything like that. And how he did not receive all-conference this year, I will never know. He was certainly deserving. So this year's unsung hero goes to Josh Williams. And lastly, Elliot Cox. Elliot served as our captain this year, and Elliot did a great job connecting with his teammates on a personal level. He was a hard worker and was present at all our soccer activities and practices. Also, he was 2nd in goals and 3rd in assists for our team this year. He was named to the all-conference and all-tournament teams as well. And I see in the Elliot Cox story a big redemption arc, because last year in our final, he missed a penalty kick after double overtime in the finals against Carroll. And this year, he assisted the tying goal in our semifinal against Carroll and then scored the winning goal against them. So that's a good way to go out, I think. And this year's Coach's Award goes to Elliot Cox. Thank you guys for a good season. We wish all our seniors the best moving forward, and I hope to see everybody else back next year. Thank you.
As those gentlemen are taking their seats, I just want to make a quick note on that championship game. Most of the guys don't know, but I'm actually a graduate of Redeemer, and I saw a lot of old teachers that I used to have there, and they were surprised to find out that I was on staff here at Harford, and they were asking, well, who are you rooting for today? Well, the last time Redeemer won a championship soccer game was my senior year. So when it came up between Harford and Redeemer, I was like, well, I'm good with that drought continuing. So, guys, well done on that win, because that felt good to me too. So, thank you. Mr. McCaustin?
So 7th through 9th grade will be returning to period 7 on our reverse schedule, and grades 10 will be up here. Just leave the front row open for our Career Shadow Program assembly, and in grades 11 and 12 over here. You are dismissed.